What is up, you guys? It's your favorite cutie Mel, and you are watching Passion Fruits, the podcast. Thank you guys for coming back once again. Today, I have an amazing guest I'm super excited to connect with today. She goes by Destiny the Muse. Welcome to the
Thank
podcast
you.
studio.
Thank
How
you.
are you feeling today?
I'm excited. Yeah,
Good,
feeling
good.
excited and just ready for wherever the
hmm
conversation goes.
Yes,
Yeah.
same. Okay, well, we always start off with intention. So if you
Okay.
want to share yours, and then I'll share
Ooh,
mine.
yes. Okay, let me see. I wrote it earlier. Okay, so my intention is to unapologetically share my truth with a posture of groundedness and clarity,
Ooh.
and to set the tone for the next chapter of my life where my voice is amplified and my message is received on many platforms and shared by many people.
Oh my gosh, that's an amazing intention. Like, not to compare intentions because they're all great, but
Yeah.
that's the best one so far. And it was just packaged up so beautifully as
Thank
well. So I knew it was going to be
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, my intention today is to connect with my guest muse and learn about her as a person and creator. So,
Hmm.
super cool. All right. So first, let's talk about what you do in the world. I like to let my guests describe what they do, and I'm always interested to see how you would explain yourself
Yeah.
and the things that you're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. It's always a hard question for me to answer when
Mhm.
anyone asks me that. But where I always start is that I live,
Oh, I love that.
and that I am here on earth in my human experience to be. And
Yeah.
so the way that shows up is different depending on the season that I'm in.
Yeah.
And so, particularly in this season of my life, I'm showing up as a creator, very much so in like the space of art and production and media, any way that can help to tell a story. That's
Mhm.
where I'm showing up, but I allow it to just shapeshift and change as long as I'm staying like anchored in living my life to the fullest. And so
Yeah.
I live and I be. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Because I feel like also I have so many different things that I like to dabble in as well. So sometimes when people ask me, I never know what to say first, or like sometimes I'll like hesitate because I'm
Yeah.
like, I do so many things and I'm so passionate about so many different things as well. So I love that.
Thank
Was there
you.
ever a time where you felt maybe boxed in by an identity that maybe you were pursuing?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
I would say back 2020 was like the main shift for me,
Hmm.
of like really breaking out of boxes. But I would say up until 2020, like everything about my identity was boxed in.
Really?
Who I had to be in my career, who I had to
Mm.
be as a mother, who I had to be
Yeah.
as a wife at the time, who I
Mhm.
had to be as a friend. Everything was defined by what other people thought, and what other people said that I should be. And
Yeah.
so, I think a lot of who I am today is in like rebellion
Mhm.
to feeling so boxed in, like
Yeah.
not wanting to be in any boxes or put in any labels unless I decide to put myself in them. So
Yes.
yeah, my entire upbringing was feeling like I was boxed in. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I love everything that you shared. Like, you're just so clear
Thank
and
you.
like, expressing yourself. And that's one of the things I like about following you on social media is because the storytelling is very evident in everything that you do. Like,
Mm.
so talk about how you use your storytelling now to like create your life because I know that's the theme that you have going on right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
I would say like something that I am really leaning more into is the concept of rewriting my narrative through
Mhm.
storytelling, through imagination.
Yeah.
Through it's deeper than imagination. It's deeper than manifestation too. Like
Mhm.
those words they get tossed
Mhm.
around just so haphazardly,
Mhm.
in a way that I feel like I used to toss them around as well, but it wasn't generating the fruit that I actually wanted.
Mm.
And so now, it is literally utilizing my ability to tell stories, to tell my future story,
Mhm.
and then to bring it into alignment through my actions. And
Mhm.
so, I just leverage storytelling in words and everything because I feel like
Yeah.
words are so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they shape everything for us.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
really do.
yeah.
So for somebody that this is new, completely, this is their first time ever hearing of someone, creating a story for their life. What's something that people can do to start telling a better story or to even assess what story they're telling now
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah, one a quote that I had heard, and I never know who I heard it from or where I heard it from, so if it's you, shout out because I didn't
Yeah.
take note, but it
Yeah.
really transformed my entire perspective,
Mhm.
was to see the world as it is and not as you wish it to be. And so really coming to
Mm.
a point of awareness and accountability for where you are. It's
Yeah.
important to know where you've been, to know where you are in order to know where you're going.
Wow.
And so my very first like step when I'm talking to anybody about rewriting their narrative and owning their story and really shaping their life to be what they desire it to be is to first get
Mhm.
honest about how things actually are.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, whoo, so that's
Yeah.
so important. When's the how do you when you're trying to figure out what's really going on in life, like, what do you think it is that holds us back sometimes from seeing things as they are?
Shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, the truth, shame. I think a lot of times we're afraid of who we actually are, and we've been told
Mm.
that who we actually are, there's something wrong with it,
Mm.
that we're broken, that we're all of these different things, that we're even things that we are shameful of, that
Yeah.
we don't want to be. Like,
Yeah.
not even only hiding from the world, but hiding from ourselves.
Mhm.
And so it really is like that shadow aspect, the most difficult parts of us to love.
Mhm.
I think that's what keeps so many from being able to really get honest about the reality that they're creating because when you
Oh my
start to be honest
goodness. Yeah.
about the reality that you're creating, you realize how much of it actually is your fault.
And it can hurt, like, it could really hurt
It
too.
does hurt. Like
Yeah.
it is excruciating to come face to
Wow.
face with yourself.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Ugh,
Yeah.
that's so true.
Yeah.
Hearing you say that, it just reminds me to continue to be, like, not only compassionate with myself,
Yeah.
but everybody else, like,
Yeah.
because, it's not easy to be
Mhm.
like, "This is my truth right now. This is who I am. This is who I've been."
Yep.
And to get clear about that, it takes courage.
Mhm.
Takes a lot of courage. So another thing I always wanted to follow up with you about, I got to come to one of your events, where you had Londrell, he performed.
Okay. Oh
And
yes, yes.
yes, and you spoke. And one of the things that always stood out to me because, I also am an event curator and you are as well.
Yeah.
I remember you sharing about how you were giving so much to, the event space and everybody like congratulating you at the end and asking like, when are you going to do it again? And like
Mm.
everybody else is like receiving all of this like positive, feedback or whatever from what you're doing, but then not feeling like satisfied or fulfilled within yourself at the
Wow,
end of
I
the
said
day.
that?
Yeah,
Ah,
I remember
I feel it, I
because
because
it's
that's
yeah,
the truth, it
it stood out
resonates,
to me like, and I was
yeah.
just like, I have felt that same exact thing. So
Yeah.
I know getting back into it, how are you approaching it this time?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The thing that so the like little hindsight and backstory, feeling like that took me away from the event space for a very long time.
Yeah.
So feeling like completely depleted and
Mhm.
drained and exhausted, feeling like I gave everything, left everything on the table while everybody else was feeling like they left feeling uplifted. I
Yeah.
poured. I was
Yeah.
pouring. I poured
Mhm.
into everybody
Mhm.
on like major scales, hundreds of
Yeah.
people at one time, like
Yeah.
events that like I'm having to carry on my back and
Mm.
lead as a
Mhm.
leader without first taking care of myself, which
Mm.
caused me to walk away from my purpose. Because I'm meant
Yeah.
to curate spaces,
Yeah,
I'm meant to
yeah.
hold sacred space for communities. And because I wasn't taking care of me, I walked away from it for a really long time.
Mhm.
And so the period of space between not serving at that capacity and to where I'm at now, it was about replenishing myself
Oof.
and like coming into awareness of what I need. What do
Mhm.
you need to
Yeah.
be able to give from the overflow? And I heard
Mhm.
that so much on my journey of like you're supposed to give from the overflow, but I never really understood what it meant until I was living it.
Yeah.
And so now it's really putting me first. Like I
Yeah.
have to, like for the
Yeah.
sake of what I do for the community, I
Mhm.
have to put myself first. It's necessary because the call
Yes.
on my life is so huge. And
Mm.
so if I'm not taken care of, my brother, he said it the other day, and the way he looks at me now after a long journey, that's a whole nother story. But
Yeah.
the way that my brother looks at me now is just with so much like respect and love. And he said, if you don't eat, the team doesn't eat.
Yeah.
You gotta make sure you eat first. And that's
Yeah.
like beyond the money, like
Yeah.
spiritually,
Yeah.
emotionally. If I don't eat, the team doesn't eat.
Yeah.
And so once I realized how responsible I am
Mhm.
for those that I'm called to serve, I
Mhm.
took the level of responsibility for myself that much more serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oof, just so many gems
Thank
because
you.
I went through the same exact thing. Like I was throwing these huge events, doing a lot of the work pretty much by myself,
Mhm.
coordinating with hundreds of people as well. And it was like it felt great in the moment, like when everything was happening. And it's just
Mhm.
like, you still get that joy and that pride. Like I'm so grateful that I was able to be like a vessel for this. But after a while, it just the joy of it just started to get sucked out of me,
Yeah.
and it was just so depleting at times, sometimes feeling so unappreciated, knowing how much you have to go through to even,
Yeah.
do something, especially being independent most of the time. I
Mhm.
don't know about you, but most of
Yeah.
my events are independent, so that means I have to somehow get some funds
All
together.
of it,
All the
girl.
funds, yeah,
Yep.
I have to make sure that the people are showing up, do
The
the
marketing, the
marketing.
building the team,
Yes,
leading the team, the
yes,
whole thing.
yes, and
Yeah.
I had to also I was just like, I got to a point where it's like, I never wanna host another event.
Me too.
Yeah, because 'cause I'm just like, it was giving me the heebie-jeebies thinking
Yeah.
about I didn't even wanna go to nobody else's event,
Same,
like I was
girl.
like, "I am so done."
Done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's why I'm super excited to connect with you going forward because, like, I'm trying to find new ways to continue to make space for people and to continue to curate because I love to be a host
Exactly.
and I love to bring people together, but in a way that is not, like, going to deplete me and leave
Exactly.
me feeling like, "Why am I doing this?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so real. I feel like a big part of the journey was really coming into acceptance of my role
Mhm.
as a leader and realizing that 99.9% of the people will not understand what that means and what it actually costs,
Mhm.
what it actually takes to be
Mhm.
able to carry that mantle forward all the way through.
Yeah.
Um, and so I wrestled with myself for a really, really, really long time about, do I even want to be a leader? Do I
Yeah.
do I want to do this? And it
Yeah.
was like, if I don't do it, then what else am I gonna do? And
Yeah.
so coming into like acceptance that like my direct line is God.
Mhm.
And that's it. Like,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I'm walking a path that many will never walk.
Yeah.
And whether I was called to do it, whatever, whatever you believe, whatever
Mhm.
you think the setup is,
Mhm.
whether I was called to it and I accepted it, whatever,
Mhm.
it's here and
Yeah.
I'm living in it and I'm not turning back now. So
Yeah.
I had to learn how to get comfortable in it, regardless of how
Yeah.
difficult it can be.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. One thing I like to always ask people is about just giving somebody tips, maybe if they feel stuck, or
Mm,
like, can you go back to that version of you who felt the way that you felt when you wanted to just stop everything? What would you tell her now? Just
mm.
like some tidbits.
Yeah, to pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, to pause.
Yeah.
You're not stuck.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like it,
Mhm.
that moment of stuckness is an opportunity to pause. It's an opportunity to
Mhm.
breathe, and it's an
Yeah.
opportunity to reflect. That means that
Yeah.
there is something that you need to know before you can go forward. And
Mhm.
so instead of seeing it as you being stuck, see it as a blessing. You're being put on pause
Yeah.
so that you don't get into another cycle, you don't get into another loop, you don't get into another situation where you squander everything, you lose
Mhm.
everything all over again.
Mhm.
That means that you are being positioned to reflect. And
Yeah.
so anytime someone's like, I feel stuck, I'm like, okay, well, stop moving. Just stop
Yes.
moving.
It's
Rest.
like quicksand. It's like when you're fighting and you're
Yeah.
just thinking more and more, but if you could just
Just chill. I'm like, just breathe. Like, just
yeah.
breathe, be present, come back to the
Mhm.
present, come back to what's
Yes.
happening now.
Mhm.
And it all dissipates. It all it all works out as long as you keep going.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do is keep going
Yeah.
and breathe through it and be
Mhm.
compassionate, like you mentioned earlier. Be
Mhm.
kind to yourself, be
Yeah.
gentle with yourself. And coming
Mhm.
back to the quote,
Mhm.
accept things as they are, not as you wish them to be. If
Yeah.
there ain't nothing you can do about it, there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep that with me for sure.
Oh, it changed so
It's the grounding.
much.
That is a grounding
Oh,
thing because it's just like it is what it
it is
is.
what it is.
Yeah, whatever happened, it happened, and it is what it is.
And you
We
can
can
fight
only
it
move on.
all day long,
Mhm.
but it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
so what do we it's and then I always also say that, like, that energy that
Mhm.
you are spending fighting, like, invisible ghosts,
Mhm.
fighting illusions,
Mhm.
you're gonna be tired when the real fight comes.
Ooh.
Because there is gonna be a moment where you do have to fight, because that's
Mm.
life,
Mm.
right? There's gonna be moments where stuff happens
Mhm.
that are debilitating, that do
Yeah.
take you to your knees, and if you spent
Mm.
3 months fighting ghosts,
Yeah.
now it's time for you to really step up and do what it is that needs to be done to push through, to power through the next stage of your life, but you're tired,
Mm.
exhausted.
Right. So using our energy in the right places.
Wisely.
Yeah, wisely and putting it where it's
Yeah.
going to advance us or, give us clarity or
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
I
like,
love
I ain't
that.
got time. Like and I used to say that before and the energy behind it was different, but
Mhm.
I don't have time.
Yeah.
Like I literally do not have time.
Yeah.
I'm not even like, I don't got time for that. Before it was
Yeah.
that energy, like,
Yeah,
"Scoot,
yeah.
scoot, I don't got time for that." I'm like, "No, I don't have time." Like,
Yeah.
I don't have time to be moping. I don't have
Mhm.
time to be, like, being taken down a downward spiral
Mhm.
because things aren't going my way. I don't
Yeah.
have time to throw fits.
Mhm.
I'm doing something. I'm
Mhm.
busy. I'm
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
And so when you really get into purpose and you really get to a space of understanding your worth,
Mhm.
your value, and your
Yeah.
position
Mhm.
in society,
Mhm.
you don't have time for all of that.
Yeah.
You're busy. I'm
Mhm.
busy. Like what? I'm
Absolutely.
busy. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Where are you from? Are you from California originally?
Yeah, so I'm from the IE.
Okay.
Yeah, so between San Bernardino, Rialto,
Mhm.
was where I like lived, but like I'm kind of like I have such a full scope experience because while I grew up in Rialto, went to high school in Rialto,
Mhm.
partially lived in San Bernardino for part of my life. I also was deeply embedded in the church growing up. And so
Really?
my close relationships were from inside the church, and they were in
Mm.
Redlands. And
Okay.
so it's three completely different cultures,
Mhm.
four, honestly, completely different cultures, different type of people, different
Yeah.
type of experiences,
Mhm.
and so I was like left trying to balance a bunch of different realities all at one time,
Mhm.
which gives me such a broad perspective. I believe is
Yeah.
because I had to have a broad perspective because things weren't lining up. I'm
Yeah.
like, why is it like this here, but it's not like this here, and why is it like this behind closed doors, but it's not like this in the front. So I
Mhm.
was just always a curious kid with questions, trying
Yeah.
to piece things together. And so I would say I was kind of spread where I'm from.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about growing up in the church
Oh
because
yeah.
I grew up in the church. I went to a church school for a lot of my elementary school, and it was just like heavily a part of my childhood.
Mine too, girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
very
How
much
do you feel
so.
like that shaped you as the woman that you are today?
I was just, you know, you know, there's pros and cons.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's pros and cons. I would say more, I'm not even gonna say more towards the cons. Let's just say 50-50 for the sake of saying 50-50.
Yeah.
We can leave it at 50-50 for
Yeah,
this
yeah.
conversation.
Uh-huh.
But I will say that it did aid in most of the shame that I carried.
Mm.
So it
That.
was definitely a catalyst
Mm.
for the guilt and the shame
Mhm.
and the idea of being good or bad.
Mhm.
The very
Mhm.
black and white thinking. It really did
Yes.
shape the way that I viewed myself in that light.
Yes.
Never felt that I was worthy. I felt like I
Yeah.
was chasing after like an invisible. I was just having this conversation yesterday because I feel like I'm still deconstructing it.
Mhm.
I've been out of the church since 2020.
Mhm.
So 2020 is where I decided to completely separate from Christianity
Yeah.
fully.
Mhm.
I grew up in the church. Just to give a little quick synopsis backstory, grew up in the church. I started going when I was like second, third grade.
Yeah.
By like middle school, I was going to church by myself. So
Mhm.
not because I was going with my mom,
Yeah.
going by myself. I was in church every Wednesday, every Sunday, every
Oh,
Saturday, like
dedicated.
dedicated, saved, and sanctified. Like I
Okay.
was, I was a church. Like I was not just going to church.
Yeah.
I was the church. I was
Yeah.
in the choir, in
Yeah.
leadership,
Mhm.
serving behind the lights, working the
Wow.
cafe,
Yeah.
like completely devoted
Yeah.
to that identity
Mhm.
and that community space.
Mhm.
I ended up getting pregnant when
Mhm.
I'm 20.
Mhm.
So young, a
Yeah,
baby, and
yeah.
in a relationship that was toxic and
Mhm.
unhealthy.
Yeah.
And instead of being embraced by the community that I thought that I had, that would be there for me in one of the most difficult times of my
Oh,
life, I
God,
was
yes.
shunned and I was
Yes.
isolated. I was
What a
taken out
vulnerable
of
space.
yeah, I was a baby. I was
Yeah.
kicked out of ministry. I was no longer like, cause I was like in the church, hanging out with the pastor's kids, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Wasn't hanging out with the pastor's kids anymore,
Wow.
like completely separated. And so that like messed up my psyche. And so
Yeah.
now I'm like, whoa, the one thing that I thought to be true isn't true. So what is
Mhm,
true? And
mhm.
so after that experience, I ended up claiming atheism for about three
Mm.
years.
That's so
And so
interesting.
and so
Wow.
it that was an interesting period because while I claimed atheism, the entire time I was trying to prove why I was atheist. And so
Mm.
I didn't really believe it because I was
Mm.
searching for proof that I didn't believe in
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And so I dove super heavy into like philosophy and
Mhm.
astrology,
Mm.
and psychology, the sciences. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, it don't make sense in that light. Let me go the other way. And I ended up taking a philosophy class with the instructor that I knew was atheist,
Mhm.
because one of my friends had told me, but he doesn't share his beliefs until the very end of the class,
Yeah.
and the class was on truth. By the end of the class, I'm like, "Dang, God is real."
Yeah!
I'm like, "Oh my God, God is real." And
Yeah.
so now I'm in this space where, I was an atheist, and I was, like, devoted atheist, like,
Yeah, yeah,
proud, like,
yeah,
telling everybody, "I'm an
yeah.
atheist, I'm an atheist." And I'm like, "Dang, but I believe in God. Like, God is real, real."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I didn't know where else to go but back to the church. Because
Mm.
what other community spaces exist that
Mhm.
recognize and acknowledge the existence of God,
Mm.
but not in a religious construct?
Oh, yeah.
Where can you go?
Yeah.
And so now I'm in this completely vulnerable space, and so
Mhm.
I end up back in the church.
Mhm.
And so was back in the church for about 3 years, 3, 4 years, and then that's when 2020. I was like, okay, I'm ready to evolve beyond this.
Mhm.
It doesn't resonate. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't
Mhm.
know what was going to be next. Ended up
Yeah.
going into spirituality, which was this whole other thing of life and
Yeah.
learning in that
Yeah.
space as well. And so when I got to the point of being okay with walking away from religion, I experienced the shunning again, but
Mm.
this one was even more extreme
Really?
because I was in leadership again. And then I decided that like I'm gonna walk away from the church, and this one felt like an exile. So the
Mm.
other one just felt like the ball was dropped. I was no longer supported. This
Yeah.
one, like I was being attacked for my
Mm.
choices and my
Mm.
beliefs. I was being
Yeah.
attacked for walking away.
Yeah.
And so having to also carry that. And so religion has done a lot of different things. And even recently, which is the point that I was making, is that I was having a conversation and I was like, wow, I'm realizing that I'm still deconstructing the impact that religion has had on me,
Mm.
specifically related to being Christ like. And what does
Mhm.
that mean? And
Yeah.
how does that show up? And it's questions I still
Mhm.
have. I'm still
Yeah.
pondering it. I'm still figuring it out.
Mhm.
But I could see how my pursuit of being Christ-like has also showed up as a lot of shame, and
Mm.
has showed up as a lot of like impossible
Standards. Yeah,
standards
that nobody can
that
live up to.
no one can actually live up to in this human form. So
Yeah.
what does that look like?
It's constant shame. It's like a cycle, you know?
Yeah,
Because it's just like we're never going to be perfect
perfect.
ever. So
Ever.
then like having all these expectations put on you in whatever way that you can't reach or it's not accessible, it keeps you feeling like you're not good
Good
enough.
enough. Mhm. Or you're
Yeah.
bad or
Right. Or
like
you're unlovable. So
unlovable.
many things.
Yeah.
Wow. Listening to everything you said is just so interesting. Like, because I feel like I've also just, I don't know, I guess now I'm to the point where I don't have like a specific, like, I mean, if people want to say spiritual, fine.
Fine.
But it's just like,
Even
what does
that.
that really
What does
mean?
that
Because there's so many
even
different,
mean?
so it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm just okay with not knowing everything.
Yeah.
But just trying to put myself in spaces that I feel that I can actually live my life where I feel good about me, because who
Yeah.
wants to constantly be feeling guilty or, just feeling in so much shame because I feel like shame is something that I feel like I had to overcome so much. Like, and I'm
Mhm.
sure it's still overcoming,
Yes,
but it's just
yes.
like I just remember being so young and just feeling like I was so bad.
Yeah.
And it's just like I was in middle school.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be feeling like so guilty about things. And like, it's just like I don't feel like
Yeah.
church for me. I feel that I'm happy that I was raised the way that I was because it gave me some sort of principles. Like,
Yeah,
everything about it isn't bad. The biggest
exactly.
thing I took away from Christianity is faith.
Yeah.
Like, when I think of where my faith comes from in God and the universe and whatever, I think of faith. Like,
Mm.
that's what I got from Christianity, but so much of the judgment and everything else, it just tainted it for me. So I was
Yeah.
just like, I started to realize early on that I was like, I'm just not a religious person. I
Yeah.
don't want to be any place that I feel like everybody can't come as well. Cause it's just like, I love so many different people. I
Yeah.
love LGBTQ plus A,
Yeah.
everybody. I don't want to be in a space that might discourage people for being who they
Who
feel
they
that they
are.
are. I don't feel like that's helpful,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I just being young, also we could talk about being moms as well because I was pregnant at 19.
Okay.
So that's a whole journey in itself.
Yeah.
Like, how did you cope being a baby, raising a
Girl,
baby?
I don't girl, the first, I had her at 20,
Mhm.
and then I turned 21 a few months later.
Mhm.
The first till I was, like, 25, 26, I was surviving. I wasn't even
Yeah.
coping. I was coping, but it got so bad, I was drinking
Mhm.
every day. I was an alcoholic,
Mhm.
like, drinking all the time, getting to the point of, like, blacked out drunk at least 3 times a week,
Yeah.
partying,
Mhm.
doing drugs, like, on my own, trying to
Mhm.
pay for the bills, also trying to raise a kid, trying to, like, do
Yeah.
something for myself because 'cause I'm like, "I know I don't wanna be stuck here, going to
Mhm.
school full time, juggling, trying to figure it out," and so the first, what should maybe, it changed, it was probably I would say it's like 2015.
Mhm.
I had her in 2011. I
Mhm.
remember I was drowning. Like at this point, I was just absolutely drowning, completely
Yeah.
under. And I remember coming home and I was tired, frustrated, all of the things.
Mhm.
And she did something that didn't warrant the response. And I like
Mhm.
yelled, I like snapped.
Yeah.
And she just starts crying.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at her, I'm like, I broke her. Like, I broke her. That was the moment when I felt that I
Mm.
broke my child. I was like, I
Mhm.
broke her. And I remember, like, falling to my knees and, like, just holding her, telling her I was sorry, I was sorry, I was
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
And that was the moment that I was like, "It has to change."
Yeah.
Like, it has to change.
Mhm.
If I can't and she's come through as, like, that for me so many times of, like,
Mhm.
if I can't walk away from me,
Mhm.
I have to walk away from you.
Yeah.
In moments where I wasn't strong enough, where I didn't value myself enough, when I didn't love
Mhm.
myself enough,
Yeah.
I loved her more.
Yeah.
And so there were so many times that she came through to get me to make better choices and better decisions
Mm.
because I realized how the decisions and the choices that I was making was impacting her. But it was hard. It was hard. Being a mama's hard, especially single mom. Trying to figure it out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Oof, okay. I'm trying not to I am a crybaby, but I'm okay with it.
Me
So,
too.
I don't know, I'm just feeling so many emotions
Yeah.
because nobody prepares you for that. Like, so one of the reasons why I care so much about women is because, like, I know how hard it is, to be one, to be a mom,
Yeah.
to have to take care of somebody, like, and to barely still be figuring yourself out. And then I feel like maybe the reason why I'm feeling emotional is because I've had moments like that as well. I feel like everybody who's been a young parent or really just a parent in general has experienced that of just not getting it right for your kid or
Yeah.
like just being at your wits end or whatever. But um, I feel like even that shame has to be let go of because it's like we always do the best that we can.
Period.
So that's if you guys are watching this and you're a mom, like you're doing a good job. I always try to tell moms you're
Yeah.
doing a good job. Even if you think you're not, you're doing so much better than you
Think
think.
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time.
Yeah, and your kids are going to be fine,
They
because they're gonna be okay.
are.
They're gonna love you. They're gonna know love. Like, don't be so hard on yourself for sure. Because
Yeah.
you're like figuring it out.
Yeah.
And we live in a society that doesn't value mothers and women like it should.
Yeah.
So it could just be 10 times harder. um,
Yeah.
when you're young. So, ooh, thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, being a crybaby. Okay. Well, you guys, I feel like this is a great time for our ad break. This right here is my rose water. This is from Lock Love. It's good for natural hair. It's good for locks. I'm selling it for $20 on passionfruitsoleil.com. If you guys are interested, definitely go to the website and check out. So let's go to our next segment.
Okay.
Let's bring the vibes back.
Yeah.
So I like to do show and tell with my guests.
Okay.
So do you want to share what you brought?
Yes. Let's see. So I brought my tarot deck.
Okay, I love
Let's
tarot.
see. I know, me too. I think I showed it. I definitely want to pull a card as well. I love tarot. I've had like an interesting relationship with tarot.
Okay.
And so I went from utilizing tarot, becoming dependent on tarot, then like using it for other people, but then also feeling like I was like um being a part of other people becoming dependent on tarot, then
Okay.
had to let go of
Yeah,
tarot.
yeah. It's like you
It's
can't get too sucked in.
you can't get too sucked in because
Yeah.
these are tools,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
but at the end of the day, we are the greatest tool. Like, we
Exactly.
have direct access
Mhm.
to anything that the tarot deck can provide.
Exactly. I think of it like it just reflects the energy.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
if you don't know that, especially when you're like transitioning, because I picked up tarot when I was still like in like the depths of like discovery. So
Mhm.
I had just transitioned out of Christianity,
Yeah.
dove right into
Yeah, trying
spirituality.
everything.
Try, girl,
Yes.
right? I'm
Yeah.
like, help me, someone help me.
Yeah.
So it was before I had realized that I can help myself.
Yeah.
And so then I picked tarot back up after putting it down for several months because
Uh-huh.
now I can be with the tool as a tool and not
Yes.
as the source.
Right, right.
And so that's been my relationship with the tarot deck.
Yeah.
But I do want to draw a card for us.
Yes. So exciting.
Yes. Let's see. We'll draw one and then I'll read the book. Keep it simple.
Perfect.
This has been so fun. Ooh, let's do one more, of
Ooh,
course.
Empress. Oh,
Wheel of
yes, the Wheel of Fortune.
Fortune.
I love that.
Yes. I love both of
Ooh,
those.
okay. Good things ahead. Whoa.
Right? Oh, that's perfect. I feel like it goes
Literally.
so much with already what we're talking about, like,
Right.
especially like the Wheel of Fortune, like
Mhm.
really representing cycles and just allowing things to play out.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, like even with like the kids, our kids
Mhm.
as mothers, as parents, knowing that um like everything is going to come back around. Everything is going to be exactly as it is, exactly as it should be. Everything is balanced. And so with the Wheel of Fortune, it's just really showing that like when we think about like the sun will rise and the sun will set.
Right.
We'll come back around to it every
Mhm.
single time.
Mhm.
The cyclical motion. A big part of my journey was realizing that I thought it was about getting out of cycles, getting
Mhm.
out of the cycles in
Mhm.
general. But what I realized is you're always in cycles. It's
Yeah.
just what cycle are you in?
Exactly. At least like let's upgrade the cycle.
Let's upgrade the
Yeah.
cycle. Let's upgrade
Yeah.
the cycle.
Yeah.
But recognizing when you're in one,
Yeah.
and knowing that it's okay to be in one because we're
Mhm.
always going to be in them. Just what are
Yeah.
you learning every
Mhm.
time you go around? You
Mhm.
might want to go around the same cycle 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah.
And then there might be a cycle that you're like, one time's enough.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so just being okay with the cycles. And then we have the Empress. And then the Empress is just poised and sure about herself.
And
And
abundant. I love the Empress.
oh,
Yeah.
so abundant. I want to read that one for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love the Empress.
Big Empress energy, always.
Always, always.
Yes.
So it says for the Empress, there is beauty, abundance, femininity in your life.
Mhm.
There may be a new opportunity, romance, art, or new business on the horizon. Focus on your senses and on the creative expression. You will experience pleasure and deep fulfillment.
Yes, I love
Yeah. And then
that.
I'll read the Wheel of Fortune as well.
Perfect.
The wheel is always turning, and life is in a state of constant change. If you're going through a difficult time, rest assured that it will get better. Good luck and good fortune will return in time. If things are going well, know this too will change, and life may return to normal soon.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good grounder.
Very grounding.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, don't get too cocky either way.
Either
It goes up, it goes
way,
down.
humility will teach you
Oh
that.
my
Going
gosh.
through the things that you thought you would never go through will teach you
Oh
that,
my god. That's happened
girl.
so many times.
So many
I'm like, "Oh,
times.
it couldn't
Never
be
say it couldn't
me."
be you.
Never, yeah. I learned
Never.
that
I
early.
learned that, yeah. I learned
Yeah.
that recently. Yeah,
Really?
last like 3 years. The last 3 years have been like the biggest transformative, I would say, for me, for sure.
Mhm.
Well, I'm going into the 4th. So
Mhm.
this would be it was 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022. Ooh, 2023. And it was like mid 2023
Yeah.
when things like finally settled.
Mhm.
But that whole 3-year period was a bunch of like, ooh, girl, sit down,
Yeah.
sit down, sit down,
Mhm.
and just ground yourself in reality. I got this tattoo, it says, "This too shall pass."
Oh, nice.
I got it when
What
my
a great
brother,
reminder.
another reminder. Yeah, and I got it when my brother passed.
Mm.
And so, but for me, it's a reminder that like the good will pass too.
Yeah.
Every moment will pass. So even
Literally.
when you're in your highs, know that like there's gonna be moments of lows.
Yeah.
And so just learning to be very present
Yeah.
with whatever chapter is showing up for you. Whether it's a
Yeah.
low chapter, be with it.
Yeah.
Learn from it so that the
Yeah.
next time it happens, you're not there in the same way. It can be the
Yeah.
same experience, but once you really learn how to be with the experience from
Mhm.
like an internal state, it's
Yes.
just different. The lows
Yeah.
don't feel like the lows used to
Yeah.
feel as long as you be with the low when the low was there. You
Yeah.
recognize it, you feel into it, and the highs
Mhm.
as well. Like
Mhm.
before the highs, I would swing from one pendulum to the next,
Yeah.
just back and forth, like
Mhm.
couldn't settle. But now it's like I'm in this nice little middle. And
Yeah.
then if it dips, I know how to be with the dip. And I know how to
Yeah.
be with the high without getting like in over my head or like taking on too much
Mhm.
or doing too much. I know how
Mhm.
to just stay right,
Yeah.
right here with it.
I feel
Mhm.
like I'm witnessing this because my son, he's in basketball. So
Mm.
that's why earlier he had his basketball pictures. So, anyways, I've been going to his games, and there's such a difference between the first season that he played and then this season because in his first season, it was more of a beginner's team and they won every single game.
Mm.
Now he's on a team, the first 3 games they lost. And I'm like,
Mm.
wow, it's exciting for me as a mom to be able to see him on the outside because I'm like, wow, you're growing because this is life. Like sometimes when he's upset, I'm like, big picture life, like sometimes you're gonna have
Yeah.
lows. It's
Yeah.
not always gonna be a winning game. So seeing him like mature through this process and through basketball and through sports is
Mm.
like been so exciting to me, which is why I love going to his games because I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like we're in life and it's like a way that I can talk to him on a new
Yeah.
level now, because it's like we can correlate and speak about things, but
Oh,
that's
I
super
love
great.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to talk about your journey as a mom, like your children or
Oh,
your
yeah.
child?
So I have one. I have a
Yeah.
little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, her name is Aria. She's 12,
Uh-huh.
sixth
Oh,
grade.
12. My son is
Yeah.
about to be 12. He's
Wow.
11 and he's in 6th
Okay.
grade. Oh,
Oh,
that's so
okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a lot
Right?
in common.
I know. I know. I feel like we
Wow.
do. I knew it when we met the first
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cause what
I
is
was like,
you
okay, I
should
feel
share a
it.
story
Yeah,
after.
right. I was like, I feel it. I feel it.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Aria, we're in such a beautiful stage of her life where it's
Mhm.
like she's coming into new levels of independence.
Mhm.
Um, I'm in this like really interesting place where Aria is so equipped. She is confident. She
Mhm.
speaks up for herself. She
Wonderful.
knows boundaries.
Mhm.
She's not afraid of conflict.
Love that for you.
Everything that I'm like, wow, I wish that I had that growing up, right?
Yeah.
Interesting thing is, all I could do is teach her these things.
Mhm.
But I don't know what the outcome of her being those things looks like because I wasn't that as a child.
Oh,
And so
wow.
now we are living in like the result of the lessons I
The
instilled in her,
seeds
the
that yeah,
seeds
they're
they're
blooming.
blooming. And
Yeah.
so I am moving into a state of witnessing in a way that I haven't been so far in her life
Yeah.
because it's been very much so her guide consistently. But
Yeah.
now I'm becoming the witness
Mhm.
of who she is becoming and
Yeah.
having to allow her to take all of the tools, take everything that I taught her, and then to
Mhm.
shape shift and decide it for herself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's a whole version of reality that she lives that I know nothing about. When she's
Yeah.
at school, she's at school.
Yeah.
When she's with her friends, she's with her friends. All I
Uh-huh.
know is what she chooses to share with me.
Yeah.
And so there's been moments where she has pushed me deeper into my growth
Mm.
in watching how she responds to situations. And I'll see
Mm.
how she responds to situations, and sometimes it'll make me uncomfortable. But
Mhm.
that's because the basis of which I have like defined appropriate
Mhm.
was based on me not having a voice, was based on me
Mm.
people pleasing, was
Yeah.
based on me being someone who wasn't like advocating for justice and
Yeah.
standing up for myself. I'm barely
Yeah.
doing that as an adult. I'm
Yeah.
30 years old,
Yeah, yeah,
32. I'm
yeah.
like she has what I barely just got. And so
Yeah.
I'm having to watch her because I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm an adult. I don't have
Mhm.
to go to school.
Yeah.
I don't have to be around a bunch of people I don't like.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have to be a space. I get to leave.
Yeah, yeah.
I have more autonomy than she
Mhm.
does as a child.
Yeah.
And so I'm having to like learn from her in a deeper
Mhm.
way.
Wow, so
And oh my
beautiful.
goodness, it's a lot. It's a lot where I'm
Yeah.
having to like sit with myself and be like, okay,
What
you,
blessings children can be. Seriously, because it's unexplainable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just have to be with it. You have to be with it, you
Yeah.
have to allow it. I think, someone I was sharing something similar with someone else, and they were like, "How do you, like, not have anxiety or be, like, worried, like, about the situation?" I'm like, "Because I
Mhm.
feel like she's prepared.
Yeah.
She's prepared for
Yeah.
life at
Yeah.
this little age," you know?
Mhm.
With Aria, I've done a really good job at, like, giving her the illusion that she is completely free.
Mm.
She doesn't know that she's in a she has a bubble around her,
Mhm.
you know? She doesn't know that there's parameters in a
Yeah.
certain sense,
Yeah.
around her. In her world, she's free.
Mhm.
She doesn't feel like she's controlled. She
Yeah.
doesn't feel like, she feels autonomous. She
Mhm.
feels like she's her own person, her own being.
Yeah.
Not knowing that I got her in a little bubble, but it's a little
Yeah.
clear wall. When she
Mhm.
get too close, I'm like, "Ah, ah," so she don't
Yeah.
gotta find out that she's trapped. You know what I mean? And it continues to grow the older she gets,
Yeah.
but her feeling free, it just breeds a whole different type of human
Yeah.
that I'm like, I haven't personally been around another 12-year-old that's as like
Wow.
free as she is, that
Yeah.
speaks as well and as is as like intellectual and
Mhm.
as like observant
Yeah.
and ask questions. She wasn't silenced.
Yeah.
And so I'm witnessing what it looks like for a child not to be silenced.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this is pretty dope. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
super dope.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, she's super dope.
One thing that I've been I don't know, I always want to instill like some sort of financial education in my son
I love that.
early because I feel like so much of what I went through had a lot to do with finances growing up.
Yeah.
So it's just like me being an entrepreneur, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
Like I'm still figuring things out every single day.
Yeah.
But like what I do know, trying to instill those things in him, like he's already investing and um
Yes.
he has a little candy business, and when I have my events, like, we set up when Leimert Park, we go to Leimert
Yes.
Park, and just showing him that he could generate money on his own has been something that's been super important to me, and, seeing even just the small things like his, investment account growing, I'm just like,
Aw.
that means so much to me because I know how much you need to be, like, financially competent because it's
Yeah.
not taught, like,
Yeah.
and I want him to be so much better than me, and I know that he already is because of,
Yeah.
like, what you said, like, the seeds that we're planting, they're starting where they're standing on our shoulders essentially.
Yep.
So, what a
Yep.
beautiful thing it is to
Yeah.
have children.
I know. But that I always say who I am is because of who I am as a mother.
Yeah.
Like, the role that I carry as a mother is my absolute favorite,
Yeah.
and, like, being a mother makes me so much better, makes me more
Yeah.
compassionate,
Mhm.
makes me more patient,
Uh-huh.
makes me more understanding,
Mhm.
because I am a mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so I also want to talk about this. So we met at a Lizzie Jeff event,
Yes.
and Lizzie is known for her sensuality and her events and stuff like
Yes.
that. So I want to talk about like the other side of how I feel like we're free to a certain
Yeah.
extent because it's
Mhm.
just like we have duality.
Yep.
I feel like we blessed ourselves
We
with the
sure
ability
did.
to do both,
Do what we
pop
want.
out on both
Yeah.
energies.
Yep, for
So, like, how
sure.
was your journey, been with femininity, especially, like you said, coming from the church and stuff like that? And when do you
Yeah.
feel like you really started to feel into yourself?
Yeah, no, that's such a good question.
Mhm.
Actually, that event, that what was that, 2022? Top
I
of
think so.
2022? So
Yeah.
what, 2 years ago?
Mhm.
Yeah, that was my first like step into that sort of a space. Oh my god, I was so
Really?
uncomfortable.
Really?
Yes,
I
that
did
was
not know.
girl, because I was just showing up. I knew that it was
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
I was excited to like liberate myself in
Yeah.
that in that sort of way.
Mhm.
And so that was like the very first time that like I was in public in lingerie, like the
Yeah, shout out to
whole
Lizzie.
yeah, thank you for that so much.
That was such a crazy event for
Yeah.
me, so
Oh
much
my
going
goodness,
on.
so much going on. It
Yeah.
was so much going. It was so supernatural on
Yeah.
so many different
It's
levels.
almost like you don't even understand how impactful it is until after you go
Until
home.
and that's it. And then you're like,
Yeah, you're just like,
"Whoa,
"Whoa, that was
that was
like"
life changing."
literally, in so many
Yeah, in
different
so many
ways.
different ways. And
Yeah.
so that really did like set like a major trajectory. I would say before that, 2020, between 2020, 2021, as I was like detaching from like religion
Uh-huh.
and really coming to my own, there was a lot of shame around pleasure, around self
Yeah,
pleasure
yeah,
specifically,
yeah.
and like connecting with my own body.
Mhm,
So much shame around that
mhm,
I spent probably like 9 months really just in sacred ceremony,
mhm.
taking baths and really just like experiencing myself for the first
Yeah,
time as an adult,
yeah,
and getting to a point where I remember, can I say like climax and stuff like that?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm like, where we at?
Uh-huh, absolutely, yeah.
Where we at? And so I remember during like the time of me really healing my sacral and like getting rid of like the shame and
Mhm,
everything associated to self pleasure. I remember I bought a vibrator and I like left it in my drawer for like
mhm.
3 months. Where I was like, I didn't even want to go. I didn't even want to open the package. I'm
Yeah.
like, I know it's in there, but I don't even
Yeah.
want to look at it.
Yeah.
And it kind of just sat there. And then at the same time is when I was exiting from religion.
Mhm.
And so when I finally stopped going to church, that's when I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna do it. And so
Right.
I like
Coast
grab
is
it.
clear.
Right, coast is clear.
Yeah.
I grab it. I'm like reading the instruction for like 3 days. I'm like, okay, let me put
Yeah.
it back. Let me put it back. And I'm like, okay, okay, let's try it again.
Yeah.
And then I started like setting up these sacred baths
Oh,
where like I would set up
nice.
candles, I would do
Mhm.
incense, I would do the
Yes,
music.
yes.
And it took me like 3 months
Mhm.
before I was able even to get myself to climax on
Yeah.
my own.
Yeah.
And when it happened, I was so emotional and I was so
Really?
angry because
Yeah.
I felt like I had given away. This is my pleasure.
Yeah.
This is my body. And I've been taught that
Yeah.
the only way that I can reach climax in my own body is
Mhm.
through somebody else. That
Exactly.
I have to give my pleasure away to somebody
Yeah.
else
Leave
and
it
it
up to
leave it
them.
up to them. And
Yeah.
that if I take it, not even take it for myself, if I
Yeah.
claim it as it is already rightfully mine, that's
Yeah.
something to be ashamed of. And
Right.
I remember just being there was so many emotions that just came
Yeah.
from that experience where I was like, "How
Mhm.
dare you
Yeah.
tell me that like my body is not mine? That's all
Yeah.
that is. Tell me that
Literally.
my body is not mine."
Literally.
And so
Yeah.
that was like really the beginning of me getting in tune with like
Mhm.
my own sensuality and
Yeah.
my pleasure, even like
Yeah.
my pleasure in relation to partners. Like
Mhm.
before that, I don't even think I was being pleasured. It was always
Yeah.
about the other person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so once I'm like, oh, okay, this is
Mhm.
what it is, then
Yeah.
this is what it's gonna be.
Exactly.
Like if this is what it is, then this is what it's gonna
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it changed everything. It
Mhm.
changed everything for me. And then
Wow.
now I'm so liberated in my
Yeah.
body, in
Yeah.
my sensuality, in my
Mhm.
sexuality.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end of the day, my body is mine to make
Yes.
decisions on
Exactly.
how I want to show it, how I
Yeah.
want to use it, how I want to
Mhm.
express it. At the end of the day,
Yes.
my body is mine and I have the autonomy to choose for myself what I am and
Absolutely.
am not going to do with it. Mhm.
Absolutely. I love that. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is such a good pod.
Yeah. I love
Amazing. All right.
it.
Okay. So now we're gonna do a couple cards.
Okay.
Let's see. Pick something.
I love that game.
Me too. Okay. If you have, when was the moment you realized you weren't invincible?
Ooh, that's a
Oh,
good
that is
question.
one, huh? I'm like,
Dang.
whew, that's
Okay.
deep.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Dang, let me think too. Hmm.
You know what's crazy? So the thing that keeps coming up for me, this is where my mind keeps going, and I'm gonna see where this goes.
Mhm.
Is 2023.
Mhm.
2022 is when it like really got like really rough, like really, really rough for me. And by October of 2022 was the darkest, like the deepest and the darkest um point of my life up until this point
Mhm.
that I've been. And it was me coming to the realization that evil existed. I lived
Mm.
in an illusion that evil wasn't
Ooh.
real. I believed that
Mhm.
everybody was good, that everybody had
Mhm.
good in them,
Yeah.
that everybody like had an opportunity to like evolve, and if you just
Mhm.
loved people enough that they can
Mhm.
change.
Yeah.
And 2022 I just got wrapped up in like situations that were incredibly dark.
Mhm.
I say, like, in hindsight now that, like, that's when I came face to face with my devils, like,
Mhm.
literally face to face with my devils, and ended up in, like, very unfortunate circumstances and situations where I was, like, physically unsafe.
Mm.
And so coming to the realization that evil existed and that I had been blinded to it my entire life because it's
Mm.
always existed and I just missed it.
Mm.
I wasn't paying attention. I was
Mm.
naive.
Mm.
Um, it brought me to like just this very deep darkness of feeling like um that was why I feel like I woke up from the illusion
Mhm.
where I was like, whoa, like I've been asleep this whole time. This whole time I thought I've been waking up this
Yeah.
whole entire time. And so I would say that it wasn't even that I found out that I wasn't invincible, because even in that moment, even in the darkest, like deepest, darkest, it ended up sending me to this like spiral depression.
Mhm.
I ended up getting incredibly paranoid to the point where I'm
Mhm.
like checking for cameras in my
Yeah.
bathroom
Yeah.
because now I don't know what's real. I don't
Yeah.
know what's up. I don't know what's down. I'm like, damn, if I missed that, what else have I missed?
Yeah.
But I knew what was happening. And so even in that period of happening, I was like, just breathe.
Yeah.
Just be with it. If you gotta check for cameras, check for cameras.
Yeah.
If you gotta sleep with your light on, sleep with your light on.
Yeah, whatever
Whatever,
makes you
whatever
feel.
you whatever we
Mhm.
gotta do, just be with it because you know what happens is passes. And you
Mhm.
make it to the other side. And
Yeah.
so that is when I was at my weakest.
Mhm.
And that was also at the point in which I felt like I gave up. But what I
Mhm.
realized in hindsight after I got to the other side of that, so that's what felt like invincible, that I
Yeah.
wasn't invincible,
Yeah.
because that was the point that I surrendered.
Yeah.
It felt like giving up in that moment,
Mhm.
but it really was just surrendering
Yeah,
to
giving
like
in.
giving in.
Mhm.
I was like, dang, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And so that I feel like resonates the closest to feeling invincible,
Yeah.
but even in the moment of thinking that I was, I found out that I wasn't. That I even in the moment of thinking that I wasn't, I found out that I was,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
I am invincible
Yeah.
until the day that I die. And then
Yeah.
once I die, my
We're still
soul lives
invincible.
on, my
Yeah, loves
spirit lives
yeah,
on, and it
absolutely.
goes on
To
forever,
whatever is
whatever is
next.
next.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can survive I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that I have to be one, but I
Right.
am.
Yeah, and now a thriver. Love that. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Yes. I feel like this was a hard question for me as well cuz I'm like I can't remember a time where I didn't feel invincible. Not because I just think that I'm just so great or like,
Right.
or that nothing can like take me out or take me down. I know that. I do feel human. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But I don't know. I guess I just always have this mindset that it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Like, even when I feel like I am just at my wits' end and I
Yeah.
don't know what's gonna happen or I'm stressed, I just know. Something ingrained in me just always just tells me that it's gonna be okay at some point. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because I just developed that coping
That
mechanism.
part.
Yeah,
I think it though. Some of these coping
but I'm gonna keep
mechanisms are
that way
good.
because 'cause it's
Yeah.
like I have to tell. Cause what else am I
What
gonna
else?
do? And also just realizing that every single time that I thought it wasn't gonna be okay, it just passes. It's just
Yep.
like every single thing that I just thought that I couldn't get through, and even when it's painful and I'm still feeling all the horrible emotions or whatever it is that I'm in, I still just feel like, "Okay, now
Yeah.
what?"
Yeah.
Because even after the worst thing happens, if I'm still here, I'm still here.
Yeah.
So, it's just
Yeah.
like it is what it
That's
is.
so real. I feel like this past year was when I was like, I have enough proof
Yeah, and I
that
feel like when I get too overwhelmed, I guess it is surrendering
yeah.
because I just come to a mental place where it's just like, "Okay, I've done every single thing that I can do, and if I wanna cry about it, I will. As you guys
Yeah.
can see, I'll let it
Yeah.
flow, okay?"
For
But
sure.
it's just like, okay, so if that happens, if the worst thing happens, I'm here
I'm
still.
still
I'm
here.
still here. So I still have time. I still have this it can be
Yeah.
worked out some way. It can,
Yeah.
it's gonna work out.
Mhm.
So boom.
Every time.
Every single time.
Yep.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now is do our affirmations. I like to do affirmation cards.
Yes.
So you can close your eyes. I'm gonna shuffle them for you, and then you can pick one. Okay, I by you. Oh yeah,
Really.
boom. Uh-huh.
Is
Okay,
that just one?
that's you got two, but if you feel like it's
I
right, then
know
take them
it.
both.
Yep.
Yes, and I'll share one each.
Okay. Oh, the first one is already like for so many reasons.
Yeah,
And so it says, I am a good person.
yeah.
Um, and that one's really deep for me because I always felt that I was bad.
Mm,
Um, and I now understand what happened, and where that programming came from in my upbringing.
mhm.
It was just there was a lack of boundaries, and so I came into this world with boundaries, and I
Yeah,
was told that I was bad for having boundaries. I was
yeah.
bad for saying no. I was mean,
Mhm, mhm.
and so always grew up feeling like I was a mean person.
Oh,
And it took me a really long time to realize, no, I'm a good person.
yeah.
Yeah. Reminder,
Yeah.
I need to stop being my harshest critic. I'm too hard on myself sometimes.
Mm.
Practice. Start using kind language to describe your wins and losses, etc. I did a great job at work today. Or I made some mistakes today, but it was not the end of the world. And tomorrow I get to try again.
Love
Mm.
that.
And the other one says, I can be happy for my friend's success without projecting my insecurities on them. Mm.
Mm.
Reminder, I believe in my friends and I don't want them to fail. And the practice. Do you know someone who needs to hear this? Hey, I want to let you know that I support you and I'm cheering you on. Write it up and click send.
Wow, that was the perfect card because I made a comment on how cool I feel like it is. You have a support team here with you. You guys can't see it
Yeah.
on camera, but she has a support team. So I was just like, wow, I
Ah.
love how you guys support each other. And we ended up pulling "Be kind to yourself and support your friends."
Yeah.
So, yes. All right, you guys. So, before we get out of here, I definitely want to talk about April 7th. I'm actually going to be collaborating with Muse. So, we're going to have the Spring Fest. Make sure you guys come out. Make sure that you go ahead and go to passionfruitsla.com, become a vendor if you feel called to. Um, what else is available? Yeah, we're going to be accepting artists and things now. So, definitely just check out everything we have available. It's going to be a great time. Get your tickets, and we will see you there. Thank you, Muse, so
Thank
much for coming to the studio.
you.
What a great pod.
Thank you so
And I will
much.
see you guys in the next episode, okay? Bye.